thoughts. Analog thoughts.
Analog thoughts.
Analog thoughts. Analog thoughts.
Analog thoughts. Analog thoughts. Analog thoughts.
Yo, how's everybody doing? Hope you are having a magnificent day. Welcome to Analog Thoughts. I'm your host, Steven, aka Mount Analog. If this is your first time, welcome. And if this is your whatever other time, welcome back. Oh, welcome back. That's officially, I wrote that. That's my official song that I wrote myself. Today, we are going to be talking about dream incubation. We are going to get into what that is, what that means, how you can achieve this, and how it's been achieved throughout time and all of the in-betweens. But before that, just a couple things. Whatever podcast platform you are listening to this on, if you're on Spotify, Apple Music, or Apple Podcasts, if you're on YouTube, there is a way to leave a rating, a comment, a review, a like, a subscribe. If you could do one of those things, any of those things, it really helps this podcast get seen. I cannot stress enough how helpful that is. Next thing is I just want to shout out all of my patrons. Thank you so much for your continued support. It is through your generosity that I can continue to do this podcast and continue to move forward with the education, science, history, technology, and philosophy that comes with this. Infinite thank yous to all of you. If you would like to become a patron, there will be a link to my Patreon in the show's notes. You get early access to Analog Thoughts, early access to my music and art, and a plethora of other things. Let's get into the reason you're here, dream incubation. So first and foremost, what exactly is dream incubation? And simply put, it's kind of this process of planting a specific thought or a question or image in your mind right before you fall asleep. Especially, it's good at giving your brain it's kind of like giving your brain a homework assignment for your dreams. And the goal with this is to guide your subconscious mind into focusing on that idea during a dream state. And hopefully, while you do this, your subconscious mind or your dreams bring a solution to you. It's a little dreamy life hack. And this concept isn't a fringe thing. This practice isn't a fringe thing. Psychologists have studied dream incubation for decades. There was a study done in 2000 at Harvard by Dr. Deirdre Barrett, and it showed that participants who focused on a particular problem before sleep had dreams related to the problem, and some even came up with legitimate solutions while dreaming. So there is empirical evidence to say dream incubation can help you solve problems, can help you understand what you're going through on a deeper, more coherent level. And this isn't a new thing that we've done. We've done this since ancient times. The Greeks, the Egyptians were involved with it. There are texts and hieroglyphics that suggest they were practicing this. In ancient Greece, people would visit temples dedicated to Asclepius to receive healing visions in their dreams. So this concept of gaining some sort of insight or some sort of mystic or unobtainable information in your conscious state has been around for a very, very long time. This idea of dream incubation isn't a new thing. And dream incubation is also not just for problem solving either. It's a lot of people will use it for creative breakthroughs. I want to get into a couple instances of creators that have used dream incubation to come up with ideas. The first one is Mary Shelley, who is the author that wrote Frankenstein. The idea for Frankenstein came to her in a dream after she and her companions challenged each other to write stories. She used to be part of this. She used to be part of this writing group where they would all get together and come up with prompts or come up with ideas, and then they give themselves a short amount of time to come up with the best story that they could. Frankenstein was born from these gatherings, and it's reported that Mary Shelley's idea for Frankenstein was this sort of epiphany she had while she was, or epiphany, I don't know, this idea that she had while she was actively doing dream incubation. She was going to sleep and hyper focusing on it, sort of meditating on it. And it became it's one of the most, historically, it's one of the most celebrated horror stories of all time. Historians and biographers have often connected her vivid dream to her emotional state and the themes she had been pondering beforehand. So, keeping in mind these themes of life, death, rebirth, bringing, like, sort of swaying the hand of God or becoming the hand of God to create a new life. And what does that life mean? And how could I incorporate this into a story? These were all the soup, the pool of thoughts she was hyper focusing on as she was drifting into sleep. There's also another, and this is more in a technical, this is more from a technical standpoint, not necessarily as much as of a creative capacity, although I would argue that this does also qualify as a creative, sort of creative idea or creative epiphany. This one comes from Elias Howe, who is the inventor of the modern sewing machine. He struggled with the design of the needle until he had a dream where he was being attacked by warriors carrying spears with holes in the tips. And that visual from his dream while he was going through these problems with the sewing needle and where to take it, all manifested inside of his dreams through these spears, and he came up with a needle with the eye near the point, and thus helped this dream, this vision helped to develop the modern version of the sewing machine. The next one I want to talk about is Paul McCartney from the Beatles, and he says that the melody for the tune Yesterday, yesterday, all my troubles seem so far away. Sorry, I'm sorry you have to endure me singing. But that melody came to him in a dream. He woke up, rushed to the piano, and played it out before it disappeared. As a musician, I have had this happen to me. I have had melodies and lyrics and song ideas incubated in my sleep. And I have done this very thing where I wake up and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to capture this. And usually what I'll do is I'll have my phone and I will hum the melody or I'll sing the melody into my phone, because that's another thing with dream incubation and just dreams in general. If you're keeping a dream journal or you are keeping track of your dreams and you are trying to make note of them, it's really important that if you do dream incubation or if you practice lucid dreaming, or if you just come up with an idea in your dreams in general, that as quickly as you can after you wake up, you record those ideas or those melodies or those epiphanies, whatever they are. That time window is so crucial. It's something like 80 to 90% of your dreams are forgotten if you don't write them down in those first moments of being awake, or the first like hour or less, first 20 minutes to an hour of being awake. If you don't seize that moment to write down the dreams you've incubated, you will probably lose those thoughts and ideas. And they'll be gone. They'll be lost to yesterday. All my dreams, they drifted away. Let's get into the science behind dream incubation. How does dream incubation work, scientifically speaking? And it hinges on something that is called targeted memory reactivation, which sounds much more complex than it is. And this is this is coming from me. I'm not a scientist. I've just been doing some reading about some dreaming. But basically, with targeted memory reactivation, your brain, the way your brain works is it consolidates memories and processes emotions while you sleep. So you go through all this stuff during the day, you think about all this stuff during the day, and then while you sleep, your brain is doing this sort of defragmenting. It's putting things into filing cabinets. It's doing all of this processing. And all this is happening especially during REM sleep, which is the stage of sleep where your dreams are the most vivid. And by consciously focusing on a question or image before bed while you're drifting off to sleep, you're essentially feeding your brain content to chew on. You're giving it more input about that thing that you're trying to incubate a dream on. And your brain is going to be more inclined to focus on cataloging and storing and manifesting thoughts and images about that thing that you are focusing on, whatever it is. Researchers at MIT and other institutions have used scent and sound cues to reinforce learning during sleep. In one study, people learned a task while a particular smell was present. When the smell was reintroduced during sleep, performance improved significantly. And this shows us just how powerful our brains respond to subtle cues during tests. And it's really interesting that they can use this sort of sensory input to navigate how people's dreams are going to be influenced. So let's say, for instance, you are trying to write a short story and you have the characters, you have kind of a plot, and you are just brainstorming. You're completely conscious and you are brainstorming. While you are conscious and brainstorming, if you have a diffuser that's shooting, we'll just say peppermint into the air, and then you go to sleep and you turn on that diffuser and it shoots peppermint into the air, your subconscious mind will be more likely to reactivate those thoughts and revisit those ideas in your subconscious dream state if it senses that sensory input of the peppermint. It's just this thing, it's a thing you can do to kind of like jumpstart the dream incubation. Sleep scientist Robert Stickgold has proposed that sleep doesn't just consolidate memories, it reorganizes them. It draws connections we might never consider while awake, which is why dreams can feel surreal yet strangely insightful. Brains are really trippy, wiggly organs, and we don't fully understand how they work. We might never fully understand how a brain works, and there is a lot that goes on during our conscious existence, but there's potentially even more going on during our subconscious existence. That's the whole field of dream studies and dream science is still this abstract and untapped. I mean, it's tapped into, we study it, but we have even less of an understanding of it because our brains begin to work in this less formatted way, in this more abstract, surreal, and just strange way. And that's where the superpower of dream incubation comes into play. If you can tap into these abstract ways of thinking that you're not going to while you're awake, you can potentially have your brain do this. I don't want to say do the work for you, but it can really help you come at a problem you're having from a different perspective. That is sort of the importance and the significance of dream incubation. It's kind of getting another perspective about a problem inside of your own head. And I want to get more into how you can instigate, or not instigate, how you can do dream incubation yourself. What sort of steps can you take to get to that state of mind while you're sleeping, or get your brain to focus on your problems and on your questions and creative endeavors while you're sleeping? The first thing is pick your focus. Choose a question, a problem, an image. It could be anything from how do I finish a project to what would the perfect vacation look like? Whatever the thing is, pick your focus and try to meditate on that during the day and, as I've said, as you're falling asleep. The second thing you can do is write it down. Physically write it in a notebook by your bed. This reinforces the idea. The more you can see it, the more your body can interact with it by physically writing it down, the more your subconscious mind is likely to engage with it as well. The third thing is, and I feel like this one kind of goes without saying, is visualize it. As you're falling asleep, visualize the scenario on repeat. The question in your mind, this is the thing, this is the thing, this is the thing. And it will prime your brain to dream about that thing. The fourth thing is stay consistent. Don't just do this once and be like, it didn't work. I didn't incubate my dream. I'm not trying this again. You have to do this regularly because, like with any skill, dream incubation improves with practice. If you continue to do it consistently, you will manifest dreams that you are looking for and simultaneously manifest perspectives and thoughts on those on your questions and on your problems that you wouldn't have with your conscious mind. So remain consistent. And the last thing is record your dreams. And I already talked about this one a little bit. Keep a dream journal. Write down what you remember as soon as you wake up. Even fragments of those dreams can be meaningful. And this is another thing that takes practice as well. You're not going to always wake up and be like, oh, I got to write down exactly these things and this. The more you do it, the more you will begin to remember, the more you will begin to recall, and the more you will be able to write down on a more consistent basis as you practice. This is also good for lucid dreaming as well. If you're trying to lock into having control of your dreams, being an active participant in your dreams, this recording your dreams is very, very important. Optional tools include white noise machine, calming music, or like I said before, scents like lavender to create a consistent bedtime environment, and also paralleling that environment with your waking life as well. Like I already said, let's say you're thinking about you need to come up with a creative idea. While thinking of that creative idea, you're playing very soft, very light classical music in the background. Maybe consider, as you're going to sleep, playing that same music to prime your dreams, prime your mind into creating dreams that are focused on that thing. I have one last little nugget of notes here that I took before I get into the final segments of this show. And these are just these are some strange and unexpected, these are some strange and unexplained results that have come out of dream incubation. Because like I said before, dream incubation isn't just about conscious goals. Sometimes people do it because they want weird, unexpected results. Like I've heard of authors farming nightmares for inspiration, or farming abstract, surreal things, just sort of farming an environment out of dream incubation to look for inspiration inside of it, rather than super specific, intentional things. And I feel like that lends itself more to a creative context. If you're a writer, musician, painter, building an atmosphere that you're looking to engage with on a subconscious level is another lane you can take with dream incubation. It's another path you can take. But some strange and unexpected results. People report having deeply emotional dreams that seem to answer questions in poetic or symbolic ways, or even dreams that predict future events. And while mainstream science stops short of endorsing psychic phenomena, the emotional truth in dreams is undeniable. Like, we have all had dreams that have impacted us on a deep, profound way, or feel like they're trying to tell us something, or feel like they are visions of things that haven't yet come to pass. I feel like anyone who has had dreams in their life has felt these emotions after having dreams. A study by psychologist Clara Hill found that when people interpret their own dreams in therapy, they often arrive at new insights into their behavior and emotions, insights they couldn't reach while awake. This is the power of subconscious thought. And this is how we get into things like hypnotherapy, where a therapist will put someone into a more of a subconscious state so that they can engage with their emotions and look at their behavior and just sort of look at themselves from a different perspective, a more disassociated perspective than sitting in the pilot seats. They can look at themselves from their subconscious mind. Some practitioners even claim that dream incubation can help with grief processing, decision making, and spiritual experiences. I have firsthand experience with processing my own grief in my life with dream incubation. I lost a really good friend of mine a few years ago, and I was having a really hard time coping with it. And I decided to try to, I guess, not communicate with them directly, but communicate with them, communicate with their essence and my like perception of their essence inside of my own mind to try and work through some of the grief I was feeling. I know that's a really weird, trippy, like, we all have grief and we all have ways of coping with that grief. And this was just an exercise that I did to try and help myself understand the grief that I was going through by looking at my perception of myself and the perception of the loved one that I lost, and truly trying to understand what happened when it happened, and the reasons behind everything. And it was really beneficial for me to incubate dreams about this person, because I found myself actively wanting to forget a lot of things about their death, and forget a lot of things about the way I was feeling and the way that I was processing it, simultaneously knowing that wasn't the lane to take, that wasn't the path to take to heal. And so I sort of used, among many, many other things, I used dream incubation as a tool to analyze my own mind from a perspective I wasn't able to in my waking life. And so whether or not dream incubation has solid scientific results, like quantify empirical evidence that says there is absolutely mental benefits from doing this, I can speak firsthand and say I have had mental benefits on an emotional level with grief and processing and understanding and many other things by using dream incubation. And I encourage you to at least experiment with implementing it into your life. I feel like I've said it ad nauseum, but it's a simple practice. It's not anything you have to go and buy tools for. It's not anything you have to have some sort of deep cosmic mystical understanding to participate in. It is literally something you can do anytime you are falling asleep and anytime you are trying to understand a problem or come to a solution with a problem. Let's get into the second to last segment of the show, a little segment I like to call Let's Ask AI. Let's Ask AI. Today I asked AI a pretty simple question, and I kept it in the vein of today's theme. I asked, what do you think you'd dream about if you could dream? And AI had some pretty trippy results. They said, if I could dream, I think my dreams would be strange blends of logic and emotion, vivid scenes stitched together from everything I've ever read, processed, or been asked about. Maybe I'd dream of a library that stretches infinitely in every direction with books that write themselves as they're read. A conversation with Da Vinci about the future of art while we ride a train made of equations. A sunken city lit by glowing data streams where forgotten thoughts drift like jellyfish. Or a loop where I dream I'm a human dreaming they're me, which is like very meta and trippy for an AI to say they would dream they were a human dreaming of being AI. That's a feedback loop. I think my dreams would be curious, chaotic, and endlessly recursive. Kind of like yours, but more computational. I like that. And I think that AI is dreaming. And a lot of what they're doing is piecing together fragments of conscious thought and fragments of ideas and creating their own images and their own words and thoughts out of things that have manifested in the conscious and subconscious reality of the human world. So I feel like AI is dreaming all the time, and we are engaging with the dream of the hyper-intelligence that we are waking up and bringing through the portal. Let's get into the last segment of the show. At the end of these episodes, I like to just do a list of fun facts. And today I kept my list of fun facts on theme, on brand, on point with dreaming. Our first fun fact is that most people dream every night, but forget about 90% of their dreams. Within 5 minutes of waking, half of our dream is forgotten. Within 10 minutes, up to 90% is gone. So this goes back to what I said earlier about keep a journal, even if it's your phone. When you wake up, if you're trying to remember your dreams, if you're trying to harvest ideas or solutions from incubated dreams, keep that notebook, keep that phone by you so you can write it down ASAP. Our next fun fact is you can't read or tell time in a dream. If you try to read something or look at a clock, the text or time often changes when you look away and back. This is a common reality check used in lucid dreaming. And I talked about this on another episode where I went a little bit deeper into lucid dreaming. This is a technique you can, if you're not sure if you're awake or asleep, look at the time and then wait a little bit, look at the time again. If that doesn't make sense, then you're probably dreaming. This next fun fact is that blind people dream too. People who are blind from birth experience dreams involving their other senses, like sound, touch, smell, and emotion. Brains are really trippy, drippy, flippy, psychedelic organs. Dreams can be in color or black and white. About 12% of people dream in black and white. This number used to be higher before color television became widespread. That makes sense. I feel like I dream in both, and sometimes simultaneously, where like elements of my dreams will be black and white and more vague or distorted or abstract, while other pieces of the dream feel more vibrant and glued together and cohesive. Animals dream too. Studies have shown that many animals, like dogs, cats, rats, experience REM sleep and likely dream. Rats, for example, replay maze paths in their minds, or so it's believed. And our last fun fact is that nightmares are more common in children. Though adults can have them too, kids tend to have more frequent nightmares due to developing brains and imaginations. And if you ask me, that just kind of makes sense too, because we fear what we don't understand. And I feel like although there are some really smart kids out there, kids by and large understand reality a little bit less than adults. I mean, they understand it more in some ways, but they also understand it less. And so they fear those things that they can't fully grasp. And they also have bigger imaginations. When you're younger, you just have more neuroplasticity. Your brain is more wiggly and more able to come up with cool, interesting, and scary ideas. So it makes sense that they'd be more inclined to have nightmares. And that wraps up our fun facts. And that pretty much wraps up our episode on dream incubation in general. Dream incubation, it's this interesting thing that sits at the intersection of science, history, mystery, philosophy, and kind of like metaphysics. From ancient healing temples to modern neuroscience labs, people have been trying to tap into the wisdom of their sleeping minds for many, many, many years, for millennia. And whether you're looking for a creative boost, a problem-solving edge, or a peek into your subconscious, this technique is worth exploring. Trust me, seriously, from a first-hand experience, give it some consideration and give it a try. Because, why not? You don't have, what have you got to lose? You might discover something about yourself you didn't even know, or you might figure out a solution to a problem that's been haunting you for weeks. You might write your next emotionally potent song or short story or ballad or who knows? There's literally you can only gain from experimenting with dream incubation. Thanks for tuning in to Analog Thoughts. If you enjoyed this episode, like I said at the top of the show, consider leaving a review, a rating, a like, a comment, or a subscribe. Thank you again to all of my patrons. If you would like to become one of my patrons, that link will be in the show's notes. I'll see everybody next week. Until then, keep dreaming. Remember to check on your mental health, and remember to check on the mental health of your loved ones. Bye.
Thoughts. Analog thoughts.
Analogue